Entirely redesigned for the 2023 model, the Kia Niro EV provides a relatively affordable way to get real usable range in an electric vehicle. But what does that mean out on the highway here in colder temps? Let's go find out. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and today we've got the real-world highway range and efficiency test on the 2023 Kia Niro EV. In today's test, we're going to head out on the highway and do 50 miles out and 50 miles back, averaging 70 miles per hour to get a realistic range figure for this car. Before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. This is the Wave version, and importantly, with the optional heat pump. So, in theory, this should be the best option for a cold Midwestern day such as this. Not sure if you'll quite be able to see it, but we're just starting to get a little bit of warmer snow falling on the car. It's about 35 degrees or so. We are all charged up, and we're going to head straight out, no cabin preconditioning, and just see what sort of realistic highway range figures you can expect. This new Niro is a huge departure from the previous model. This one looks much better in my opinion. Alyssa thinks it's pretty ugly, but I think it's cool, very striking, and a lot less boring than the previous model. They still make the plug-in hybrid and the normal hybrid as well. Haven't driven those ones yet, although Chris has, so we probably have some sort of video on the channel. I'll put the link down there, but if you do want to see more on this one, check the link in the description as well. One of the few EVs on the market with a plug right in the front. We're gonna pull that out down here and get started. Before we actually start the car here, we're going to reset our GPS and our trip computer. Bringing the car to life, dial our HVAC down here to 67. Immediately get the car in eco mode so that we get some eco climate going. Bring that down, sync heat, all right. Driver's seat heat on 1. We're greeted with 208 miles of range right now. Now that's quite a bit lower than the EPA's 253 for this car. If I were to turn climate off, all right, it jumps up to 224. So looks like we are losing some with our climate there. That's to be expected. So why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's highway fuel economy test, which gives this Niro EV, what was it, 101 MPGE, if I remember correctly, and about 226 miles of highway driving range. That test only averages 48 miles per hour. We know there are plenty of people who, even with electric vehicles, want to just head out on the highway, and we'd like to know what sort of realistic number you can expect in the real world. So in order to do that, we're going to head over to the highway here, go out and do 100 miles, come back, charge all the way up at my house, and see what sort of efficiency numbers we get. A few things to note for today. As I said, outside temperature coming up as 33 degrees Fahrenheit, just a hair above freezing. Our tire pressures have been set to their door placard 36 psi cold, and we're running the climate control at 67 degrees Fahrenheit with 1 level of seat heat. As I said, we do have the optional Wave Preserve package on this model, giving us a heat pump, and that should be a more efficient method of making heat for the cabin here as compared to running a resistive heater that you get in more of the base models. I like doing these style of EV tests with no sort of cabin preconditioning or any sort of prep in that way, because a lot of people do still want to own vehicles and just, hey, all of a sudden somebody's sick, you're late for a meeting, something like that. You just need to hop on the highway or on the road or whatever and go. You haven't prepared for a trip or anything. So this is useful in terms of how much can you use this Kia Niro EV as a normal vehicle. Now to get that highway estimated range figure, we do need to be getting well over 3 miles per kilowatt hour, and I just don't see that happening in this colder weather. A little bit more air resistance, car working to create heat. But I'd say even if we can get in the high 2s and just get somewhere around 200 miles of range like the car's predicting here, that will be pretty impressive. Getting onto the highway here after 2 miles of city driving. The goal of this test isn't to hypermile. We're not trying to get the best possible range for this car, but rather a realistic number. In order to do that, we're getting up to highway speed here at a reasonable pace. We're going to set our cruise control at a GPS indicated 72 miles per hour. That should allow us to average about 70 over the whole test. A bit of road noise, wind noise here in the Niro, but not too bad. looks like our car speedometer is about 1 mile per hour below the GPS. We're going to be settling in at 73. It is quieter with that sunroof closed, that's for sure. Alright, we should have a pretty darn good active lane keeping system here. Kia does a pretty good job with that. Steering assist, highway driving assist, I think it's called for Kia. Right, look at that. Already keeping us nicely in the lane with 200 miles of estimated range left. Alright, well this will be interesting. I'm curious to see how this goes, and we'll be catching up with you at the end. In the meantime, enjoy this time lapse of the entire trip. Coming into the end of the highway range test here in the Niro EV, I'm actually really impressed with the highway manners of this car. It's remarkably quiet in here for a little bit more, I mean, it's not a cheap car by any means, but a little bit more of an economical, focused car. So it's very quiet. The seat's decently comfortable. I could go for a little bit longer seat bottom, a little bit more thigh support, but overall I'm still pretty good in here. I really appreciate the layout and controls of everything. It's felt very natural driving. The highway driving assist does quite well. I am a little bit annoyed by the lane change function that it has, which you can totally turn off, and at least it doesn't beep at you or try to fight the steering wheel when you try to change lanes on your own. It just doesn't work super intuitively if you're trying to use it properly. In terms of efficiency, I'm also impressed by that. 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour is what we're getting here on the dash readout. And if we go to the nifty energy information screen and check out our electricity usage, the drivetrain has done 94% of the power usage and climate only 4%. So even now up to 37 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm running that climate control at 67 degrees Fahrenheit on auto. Only 4% of our charge has been used up for the climate, another 2% for electronics, and I like how Kia offers that energy information screen. I think that's really cool. In terms of actual range, we are at, what were we, 49%? Oh, 51% battery left and only 99 miles, so we are tracking a little bit below 200 miles of total range. Not incredibly surprising, being about 10% below EPA given the colder weather, but still something to be noted. So we're going to get it back to the house, charge it all the way up to full, do some calculations based on the electricity put into the vehicle, and get some final numbers for the Niro EV. All charged up here, 4:45 in the afternoon, and it's already getting dark, but 207 miles estimated with our heat on now that we are all charged up. We pulled back into the house with 50% charge, and we're charged all the way back up to 100 now. The charger took, or rather gave the car 36.3 kilowatt hours, and we're going to assume a 90% charging efficiency at level 2. So we're gonna say that the car took about 32.7 kilowatt hours to charge back up. Take that 101.2 miles traveled divided by 32.7 kilowatt hours. It's given us 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour, which is exactly what the car said that we got over the trip. It's nice when things line up like that nicely. We got a 64.8 kilowatt hour battery pack in here. 64.8 times 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour is giving you an effective highway range number of exactly 200 miles, which again, pretty darn close to what we saw cruising on the highway. So So no huge surprises there. Obviously about 50 miles lower than the EPA mixed driving estimate for this car, but only about 20-25 miles lower than what the EPA would expect you to get at highway speeds. And given the colder weather, I'd say that's a pretty good result, especially for cruising at 70 miles per hour. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Niro EV, check the links in the description, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.